that the cue to begin?
That's the cue to begin.
Why is it like this? The haters should be loved, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of haters should be loved, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.
Hello guys, welcome.
Hi, welcome. You might be noticed that we're joined by someone very special. If you don't recognise this face, this is the amazing James Hansen. Would you like to introduce yourself, James, please?
Indeed. Absolute pleasure to join you both.
Make sure the mic is close to you.
Yeah. 1, 2. 1, 2. I'm going to have a problem holding this up. My mic check was down here.
Don't worry, I'm telling you.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's really nice to join you both. I'm James Hansen, specialist addictions therapist, ADHD life coach. Been in the field of addiction for over 17 years and, assisting people to manage life, not just with ADHD, but also someone that presents without a diagnosis, that presents with just symptoms of ADHD.
Cool.
But yeah, I work with both of them areas, both of them disorders that coexist together.
I think it's important, right? The intersectionality between addiction and ADHD, it is rife. And if untreated, it can lead you to hospital, prison, even worse. So the work you do, it's so valuable, and we're so thankful that you are in this world doing this. So
Indeed. I was thinking about that on the way here. Like, I feel like you were drawn into this. You were meant to do this for the world.
Yeah, definitely. How I sort of, fell into this role, so to speak, being in a position to, not just to help people with ADHD, but also the coexisting disorder, one of which is addiction, which certainly comes in many different forms. But I guess what propelled me was my own experience.
Yeah.
My own experience of using certain substances, from the age of 11 to 20.
Wow, 11 is a young age. Can you go into any detail with that? What were you taking at 11?
Well, it was. I started on stimulants
Wow.
in terms of. It was solvents. That was my drug of choice at the beginning.
Experimentation, kind of.
Yeah. It was almost like society's pressure. Like I was at this. What school I was at. Always struggled with school. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 37. So
Yeah.
Always struggling in certain lessons. I know a lot now than I used to then. I just thought there was something wrong with me because that's the perception of the world. What they had on me.
Yeah,
up, So, I found, I soon found one of my interests was playing truant out of that hostile environment in certain subjects and topics in class with people that at the time I felt that I was like. I found my tribe.
Yeah.
And actually my tribe was quite chaotic.
Yeah.
And they was using solvents and cannabis. They were the first drugs that I used. But it's almost like I can remember when I first started using them things, it was like I had this wave of I guess calm and it was like I could see the world in a different light.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is all right,
Yeah.
But I wasn't particularly like the people that I was using, you see.
Yeah.
See, my drug of choice was more. Whatever it is, I want more of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. The Seymour diet.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? And I know what you mean. I've been in situations myself when I look around and I'm like, I'm nothing like these people here. But how can I make that distinction? Because I'm here doing the exact same things as them. I'm going the same path. And I'm sure Lindsay can say the same. Like, there's certain paths that we were maybe 3 choices away from going the completely wrong way. And if it wasn't for something that happened within our lives, I don't know, someone seeing something in us or us finding it within ourselves, luckily, because that doesn't happen for everyone, right?
No.
There's a lot of people that don't have these opportunities to reflect and really make change to themselves. So how do you get through to people?
Well, it's not easy because, if you're working with someone that's presenting with, bang in the middle of addiction, which, again, with ADHD comes in many, many different forms. It's not just like, drugs and alcohol. It can be like lots of other things which you know we'll get into later on
Yeah.
in the podcast. But you know, I guess for me it's that, you know, what's the opposite of addiction, which is connection.
Okay.
Yeah, is that you know, quite often when you know we're struggling internally, we're struggling within ourselves, right? So when I'm in that space, you know, like clients when they come to me, they're in that isolation, that loneliness. They're not allowing other people to go into their world with them. And I guess for me, it's providing that comfortable space to allow people to come in that space and say, look, you know what, actually, it is a held and safe space. You can bring whatever you want to bring to this session,
Right.
you know, and with no judgment. I mean, I'm not in no position to judge, right, because I've gone through it,
Yeah.
right, and it's like I know the journey prior to seeking help,
Yeah.
you know.
It's got a motorbike going past, like, it's never
I can
happened
remember,
before.
Yeah, you know, my ADHD brain going, oh, that would be cool, popping a wheelie with that one. Right?
Yeah,
You
what
know,
is
like,
that?
Is it stop?
Yeah, probably.
I was literally just thinking that if I can't edit the compression, like compress the noise out of that, I might have to just leave it in now. Just so
Yeah,
that
it'll
makes
be
sense.
fine. Yeah, it'll be fine.
We all got distracted.
Yeah. Well, it kind of
ADHD.
grew in intensity, didn't it? I was like, "Where is that coming in the building? Or what is
We all
that?"
paused. It was like, what's that?
Probably won't even hear it on the recording. Sorry, guys.
Oh no, I heard it. That's why I was like,
Oh, okay. I forget that you can hear what we're. Brilliant. Well, just going back to what you said though about connection and addiction, because when you said that about you felt like you'd found your tribe when it came to first experimenting with drugs, I relate to that so much. Like I didn't touch drugs all through my teens. I experimented with like very mild substances and things, but it was in my mid-20s that I fell into that crowd and I thought, oh my God, I found my people. So that is so hard hitting to realise that connection with like-minded people is what I was after, but the drugs was the glue that brought us and held us together. They were probably all neurodivergent themselves, and that's why they, you know, took those risks, because most people probably wouldn't take those risks. And
exactly. It's that sensory seeking, is it? It's that need for more. I know.
the
When I
need
look
for
at-
more.
It's not just drugs and alcohol. I think relationships very quickly, that normal stage of just like we're together now. There's no like dopamine. You know, we've got and I'd go, oh my God, we're not okay together.
Yeah.
We're so like we're doomed. You know what I mean? We don't do anything, and it's like that's what a relationship is. And my brain struggled to understand that I'd make fights out of nothing. And I'm not actually a confrontational person, and it's a really like you can see that because as soon as I get that rise out of someone, I shadow back into myself, and that is like you can consider that victim behaviour. That's really difficult to be around, and having to understand
That you're seeking something.
yeah, and there's all a bunch of mixed things. And
Yeah.
like rejection sensitivity. But yeah, it's not just drugs and alcohol, right? There's so many things that we can be addicted to that.
Yeah, of course.
Just for that rush, that feeling, the sensation.
Yeah, I didn't realise. You know, it's almost like how I describe ADHD is like you know, the lady or the man with the stick that's controlling the orchestra to sound beautifully, right?
Yeah.
And you know, our brains work differently, right? You know, we lack that chemical called dopamine, but you know that stick, the dude or lady with the stick that's pointing it to the right instrument,
Yeah.
the orchestra to make it sound very beautiful when it all comes together, right?
Right.
Well, our stick don't work like that.
Right.
It sends
Ours is
things
like
into different, it sends different signals into different parts of the brain. You know, and there's no right or wrong, and I hate that perception. You know, right or wrong, it's negative or positive. It's that no, we're just different.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
our brain works different.
Yeah.
Right? No matter, you know, if you're on a pharmaceutical intervention, or you know you're working with an ADHD life coach, you know, or you know you're getting a balance between health and well-being stuff. Right, like ADHD, I think different. Right, so no matter if I'm on point, I'm doing all that stuff right, it can still check in to say, listen, I'm still here, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still here. I ain't gone nowhere, right?
I am a part of it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people they they frown on like the addict. You know,
Yeah.
like they look like down on the person that's the addict, but actually the addiction is just the plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of my role is to help you, if you choose to, remove the plaster.
Yeah.
And then let's look at underneath what is the plaster covering up.
Which is the painful part, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if we don't look at that, what happens is I can guarantee this, that at some point, if you don't consistently allow the plaster off in a safe space to look at what's underneath, with the right people, it's important with the right people, what you'll find is that you'll end up into the coexisting disorders,
Yeah.
which are in no particular order, by the way, which are, that'll be mine, right?
Just for
which are in no particular order, which is addiction, anxiety disorder, depression, low self-esteem,
Yeah.
and RSD. We tend to live over there, but so if you think like, if we don't know we've got ADHD. I mean, I weren't diagnosed till late, 37. So I spent most of my childhood seeking out that dopamine, right, to regulate how my brain, what I thought my brain needed, how it needed to function.
Yeah.
Like because the dopamine is like, when I get dopamine release, having ADHD, that dopamine release is closely related to a stimulant, and the stimulant is closely related to the reward system.
Yeah.
Right. So a good example of that is if we're going to do a task, because quite often we jump from task to task.
Yeah.
But it depends on what the task is, you see. If it's a task that's going to be stimulating for my brain and release the dopamine, guess what? I'm going to be hyper-focused on that one, right?
For hours.
Yeah. Give me a report to write.
Yeah.
For a client.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, last minute, like. It's not.
Yeah, it needs to be.
I don't enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not. Actually, I don't enjoy doing it. Right, that's the truth. Right?
Yeah.
It's because it's not stimulating for my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that doesn't mean I don't care about the client.
Yeah.
I know how my brain thinks differently. You see, so how do I combat that now? Is that I've established that my brain works most effectively in the morning between 9 and 12.
Yeah.
So gone are the days I used to put reports at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then wonder why I end up not even starting it, or start it 5 minutes in. I'll jump off and I'll be down another rabbit hole on social media, writing a post for tomorrow, but that's why. So now I know I can do something about it, and I can stay focused for longer periods at night between 9 and 12.
Yeah.
So it's that constant wanting to seek that stimuli.
Yeah.
And if we look at because going back to like the addict can be judged is like everyone in some shape or form is fixing their self internally with the outside world, right? Yeah. At some point of their life, the difficult thing is, for people with ADHD, we are more at risk of becoming addicted.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes in the form of a stimulant. So like we have obsessive impulsive compulsive behaviours, and it's not just cocaine and amphetamine. I'm talking about gambling, gaming, shopping, buying faster, shinier, food, sugar, although that's like kryptonite, it can still be one we go to.
Yeah.
Porn, masturbation, sex, they're all stimulants. Yeah. But and like cannabis and alcohol, even though they're not stimulants, they also affect our motoring skills. Yeah. So they give that sense that it slows the doing down, the hyperactivity, the mind, but it blocks it out, doesn't it? It can have a massive negative impact on the rest of our bodies. So it's like... Yeah,
I think it's hard because that list of things you just said there, most of them are legal.
Exactly.
And the problem with addiction and ADHD, a lot of the symptoms, it's that element of shame, right? It stops you getting help. It stops you really being able to look at yourself properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's generational, and environmental.
Yeah.
Being brought up. I was brought up, my mum and dad divorced when I was young. My dad got addicted to that substance, that other addiction that society condones its use. Let's toast to your health. It's happy hour time. Alcohol. In the end, it killed him. Yeah. Died of cirrhosis of the liver. But growing up, when him and my mum split up when I was about 3 or 4, I never seen my dad.
Yeah.
Growing up, I never had a positive male role model in my life.
Yeah.
My mum remarried to my stepfather, but I struggled allowing him in.
Yeah,
so I just see that he was there to get rid of my dad.
Yeah.
But obviously, I knew that later on in my life that it wasn't the case.
Yeah, it wasn't a
At the time I was
replacement.
child,
Yeah.
it's just like dad's disappeared.
Yeah. And now there's this man there, that I'm expected to accept.
And my anger and frustration went towards my stepdad. Whereas like now, having gone through a lot of change internally, I understand my stepfather was more of a dad than my dad was ever.
Yeah.
A dad.
Yeah.
So, but so his was alcohol.
Alcohol's such a tough one because, like you say, it is so normalised, and it's there being sold to you as oh, you've got something to celebrate, have a drink. You know, Instagram's full of people taking a photo of their drink in front of the scene. Well, what's wrong with just the scene? Why is there got to be this glass of wine in front of it? It's glamorised.
The time isn't as fun if you're not drinking. And
That's right.
If you say I'm not drinking, it's like, oh, and if you don't have an actual problem, the amount of time people are like, oh, go on, just have one.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to. I'm not there going, go on, don't have one.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Ruin your night, you can ruin mine. And it's weird, isn't it? That
It is.
cultural.
It's
But
like
like, if you get too
Merry
addicted,
Christmas.
then
Yeah.
there's no in between. It's either go on and celebrate or, God, how did you get addicted?
Yeah. And the thing is, what I found with alcohol is that once you have one, you're not in the same mind frame to not have another, and then another one leads to bad decisions. And for me, I'd rather just not go down that landslide.
100%. You know, and this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, you know, where is the crossover? So I often use the phrase, an addict of a specific type.
Yeah.
So what that looks like for me is that, for me, I couldn't go to the pub and have one beer. I couldn't go. I've got to be careful with jam tarts today, right?
Yeah.
I go in the shop for milk. I come out with, if I'm not careful, jam tarts, this, that.
Jam
right?
tarts
And
is
I
my
forget the
thing.
milk.
I get the prepared ones for
Get home and it's like, I went to the shop for the milk. You've come back with a bag of absolute crap.
My housemate's going to be laughing at that because me and jam tarts have got a bad relationship.
It's that, isn't it? Like that. So what I've learned in addiction is that as soon as you put that first one in you,
Yeah.
it sets off that phenomenon of craving
Yeah.
and that urge of wanting to
Yeah.
continue that.
You make that brain connection, right? This
Yeah.
equals good time. This
Yeah.
equals me happy. So next time I have a walk around Morrison's, and like we just went to get a coffee from a new little like
Yeah.
independent established thing, and it's all beautiful. And I was just saying, like, I'm the idiot here that always falls for it. And I'm like, oh, I'll have this, and this, and this, just because it looks nice, it's presented to me well. And supermarkets spend a lot on presenting
Doing
it
that.
well,
Right.
thinking about how they'll catch me. So of course, by the time I've got to the end of the shop, I need more than the basket. And I do it every
right.
time.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
go to like Home Bargains or something, thinking that would be cheaper. And I get
Yeah.
there, they're like 35 quid, please. And you're like, excuse me.
Oh, nothing. Tit and tat that you didn't
I mean,
need.
there's a load of things, but they're useless.
They're just going to be in a bag in my living room now.
Half of them are like Mrs. Hinch special cleaning stuff. Just because I'm like, oh, Mrs. Hinch is on the bottle. It must clean better. I'll be like her. My house will be spotless.
Do you think that's part of the addiction, though, right? That A, the new and shiny, B, the kind of craving to fulfill something.
Yeah, we're like cats, aren't we? Novelty.
And the thing is, you know, quite often if I'm working with people, because I sometimes signpost people to rehabs,
Yeah.
if they're on alcohol, if they're drinking alcohol daily or heroin, they need an in-house detoxification that's safe.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll work with the clients in allowing them to get, you know, helping them a clear route in. I work with a lot of rehabs around the UK, and then what I'll do is I'll pick them back up like a week before. I'll be like, right, let's get a weekly planner in place.
Yeah.
Before you've left your destination.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what happens is, you know, I love this saying, never leave your house without a destination, because you end up in a spot where
Yeah.
you may not want to
Yeah.
be, right?
That is
And
true.
so I'll even, if it's nearby, quite often I'll go into the rehab,
Yeah.
I'll set up a one-to-one session with the client, I'll sit down and do it with the client. And we'll look at, like, you know, mutual aid support groups, AA, Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
might put a couple of sessions in the first week of them getting out. Morning routine, nighttime routine.
I love that.
You know, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's like solution based.
Yeah.
You know, I happened to go to university for 6 years and I studied all counselling models that are effective with working with addiction. So like I come from a hostel in Brick Lane, 8.5 stone with a black bag. That's
Yeah.
where addiction got me.
Yeah.
20 years old, nowhere to turn. My mum and stepdad disowned me at 15 years old. Yeah, they threw me out the family home. Yeah, and I didn't see that a lot of that was like it was mostly my behaviour, right?
Yeah.
You know, they were exhausted with the addictive behaviour and the lies and the dishonesty.
Yeah.
But what happens is my mum, even over 23 years, right? I've been free from alcohol and drugs for over 23 years, and even now, my mum sometimes, when we get into a conversation, carries that guilt of having to make that decision, because
Yeah,
it's
of
a tough
course.
decision for any parent to make. And I wouldn't suggest to anyone that is what they need to do.
Yeah.
Who's listening to this, it's an individual thing, right? But what I can say for me was that was one of the big reasons why I got into recovery earlier, because from 15 to 20 years old, it was carnage.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that went on, in active addiction. The process of finding ways and means to get more.
Yeah.
There was carnage. I hurt a lot of people, which was never. And I don't mean physically.
Yeah.
I mean like the dishonesty, the manipulation, like the stealing, and all that stuff. I was only going to take one ring, right? And then soon enough, the jewelry box was empty. That dopamine, the stimulant, was also in criminal activity.
Yeah, of course. A lot of criminal.
I worked in a prison, going back a couple of years.
Yeah.
In Winson Green Prison. Just before we hit COVID, I walked in onto the substance misuse wing.
Yeah.
And it was like undiagnosed ADHD all over
Everywhere,
the place, man.
yeah.
It saddened me.
Yeah, don't.
Do you know what I mean?
It breaks my
'Cause
heart.
it was like,
Yeah.
I wonder why these people end up back through the door.
Yeah.
But so the criminal activity. But I always say to my mum, nah, you saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't like by pushing me out
Yeah.
at the time. As you can imagine, the rejection smashed me to bits.
Yeah, I bet.
But what that done was that propelled me to use. I went straight to the plaster even more. I went
Yeah.
on a crazy one.
Yeah.
But I got to that place of like in the hostel at 20 years old, 89 stone with a black bag, a lost soul. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nowhere to turn. Like all avenues gone. And then it was like right. Broke down, spoke to my mum, and she was like, get yourself in the rehab where your dad went through.
Yeah.
He can get you, he might be able to get you a bed. So from East London, that meant moving and relocating to a place called Wiltshire, a place called Gloucester House.
Yeah.
In Wiltshire, Swindon.
Wow.
Right?
Sounds a bit posh.
Yeah, it's quite posh. Yeah. It's like a Christian run town,
Yeah.
East London geezer landing right in the middle of the sun, And it was just like where this rehab was situated. It was like apparently it was like there was a post office over there, a pub next to us, and a pub next to us. I was like,
Oh,
you
God.
got to write it.
Yeah.
But like even at that point now, I didn't actually have no ADHD diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
My words were, I think I might have a problem with drugs.
Yeah.
And I'd been bullied the last 2 years because what happened was, like I don't know about you, but for me, in that fitting into that original circle that we were saying about finding yourself, in fact, I lost myself.
Yeah.
Trying to be someone to fit in that isn't you.
I was trying to be everyone.
Yeah.
I was trying to be what everyone wanted me to be.
Yeah. Being taken advantage of as well.
People pleasing.
Yeah.
I hated conflict.
Yeah.
I was anxious.
Trying to please everyone with if they need something, I can get it for you. Yeah.
I'll get it faster, cheaper, better.
Yeah.
You get walked over, right? No one's 100%.
Not in those
There were
circles.
situations that actually towards the end, my masks started to drop, and people started to see how vulnerable I was.
Yeah.
I tried to put it on,
Yeah.
but it stopped working, you see. And then that started coming through, so I started, I was experienced being bullied,
Yeah.
and that smashed me to bits. My confidence, my self-esteem.
Yeah.
I even had it in secondary school.
Yeah.
So I was the youngest in the year.
Yeah.
And I was quite small.
Yeah.
For my age, so I was already starting
beginning,
my brain development was already nearly a year behind the people. In
Yeah,
the,
of
in the same
course.
year.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a good start. Do you know what I mean?
It's like those old wounds almost though, isn't it? That you were reliving that towards your late teens. It's like the trauma that you've experienced when you were younger and not fitting in and being bullied. It's like just until you confront it, those cycles are just going to keep repeating.
That's right. And it's like, having gone into the rehab, did 9 months, thought, I'll come out, I can control my use.
Yeah.
I'll smoke cannabis during the week and I'll drink during the weekend.
Yeah.
It'll be different this time. I've got 9 months of treatment.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't qualify in what I'm doing now. I didn't. I was working actually in a factory in Swindon, Honda, a big massive manufacturing company there, and I was there for about 8 years, and then all of a sudden I started going to this particular rehab I went through. I ended up getting a driving license and started giving people lifts to meetings, like Narcotics Anonymous meetings.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting a full-time job in there.
Nice.
Yeah, as a night support worker for 8 years. And out of them 8 years, I've always a great believer in always remain teachable. And I was guided by some very wise people, wise men. back then. And they used to say things like, less wishbone and more backbone. Because I'll think a good thing,
Yeah.
but will I do it? Depends.
Less wishbone and more backbone. I love that.
And
To
also,
apply that to my life.
and also, you know, because with ADHD, you know, I find that once I get going,
Yeah.
my passion, I can't, you know, it's hard to keep track of the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's like, you know, I remember the same guy. He was like 5'2". He was a jockey. I wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
Right? You know, but he stepped to me, and I appreciated him stepping to me.
Yeah.
Not at the time.
Yeah.
After, right?
It's all
When
usually the way with these lessons,
Well,
like.
this guy's got some wisdom, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so he said that less wishbone, more backbone, which meant the doing, you know. But the other one was, you can half talk the talk. You ever try walking the walk? I thought, I'm going to knock this guy out.
Yeah.
Right? That's my impulse, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But then you think about it. Yeah.
it's true, like, you know, matching what I'm saying with what
Yeah.
I'm doing. It held me in really good stead.
Yeah.
So I started taking on lots of courses in that 8 years, and then I studied for 6 years.
Nice.
And as I mentioned at the beginning now, I studied all counselling models that were effectively working with addiction.
So for people listening, what did you go? What modules were they be?
They were CBT, motivational interviewing and style of working. I explored transactional analysis, comorbidity. Motivational interviewing was a fantastic one for me, which, you know, and then later on after that, I learned DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy. And you see all these models, for me, these psychosocial interventions and counselling models and person-centred approach, all that entwined with an ADHD life coach.
Yeah.
Makes it, I guess it makes me quite unique in what approaches I can use.
Yeah.
I really like that. I've always
It's
been
not
of the
linear.
mind of having a toolbox.
Yeah.
Having all these different modalities. Because I had a lecturer that she was all in all person-centred, and she thought she could cure everything with that. No. Unfortunately, like what you just said, you had a coach that he'd challenge you. And
Yeah.
I find that's the best person to me. Someone that just nods and yes for the whole 50 minutes. I'm not into. I want to be challenged. I want someone to go, say that again. I didn't quite believe you when you said that. Do you believe yourself? You know, actually really, because that's the sort of thing that makes me check my own BS. You know what I mean? So do you feel like you've adapted that style from having coaches like that, you know, being a little bit more challenging?
Yeah.
I know confrontational sounds a little bit scary, I imagine, to people that haven't been to therapy, but...
Yeah, no, it's a skill.
Right,
it's
provide that line.
It's providing a safe space, but being very equipped
Yeah.
Yeah.
And allowing
to come in and navigate.
for that person to say, you're a bit harsh then.
Yeah.
Do you like, was I harsh? Let's explore. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
Was I harsh? Maybe I was.
To be honest, people don't find me harsh by how I work.
You're authentic though. You can
I
tell
think
that
it
with your
fits
energy.
with how you look as well. You've got this like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
the East
totally
London
true,
thing.
right, yeah.
I'm almost certain that you're not going to go, oh, that sounds terrible. Okay, we'll see you next week. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you've got that look, but as a woman, I feel like I'm kind of, people go,
yeah, I'm a gentle soul.
what?
Right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a gentle soul, right? And, you know, what I do is I'll assist you to uncover the blind spots.
I love
That's
that.
what I'll do. And what I'll do is I'll learn to dance your journey with you.
Why does that give me Danny Dyer? Maybe it's the accent.
I don't know.
Dancing with it, it's like poetic in
Yeah,
this. So, like, I love it.
that's derived from the motivational interviewing approach. You see,
Right.
you know, to learn to dance with the client is you know, it's quite a powerful thing. Like to step in the world.
You've been
with them. Do
you've
you know
been
what I
there
mean?
as well though. I
Exactly.
think that's the helpful point.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you know, when you've got somebody that has only learned it from a textbook, as it were, you know, it only takes you so far, doesn't it? But you've had your own rock bottom
Yeah.
and understanding and experience, and then you can draw upon that. And you've already said that you know that you're always teachable, so you're not going in with the aspect of I know it all and I'm about to, you know, you're open like to what they're going to say to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, a good example is the most recent one. So I'm working with a client, obviously I'm not going to name them, and they've said to me, right, so I've got a wife who I'm not with, and I've got a partner. I've got a child with my partner, and I've got kids with my ex-wife, my wife, my ex-partner. Does that make sense? Right, so,
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I'm speaking to him about building healthy boundaries and what message one is sending
Yeah.
to his ex-partner, right? and I'm uncovering some blind spots. And what he said is, what about if I just leave it and this is okay and this is okay?
I'll get the broom
Because
and the carpet.
this one might leave me. And I looked at him and I was like, so you're just you're laying down the prep. You're just sort of like playing it safe. So that just in case so you're getting your ducks in a row, are you? Right?
People's lives.
That's where my confrontation might come in.
Yeah.
Nice like that, it's nice and subtle.
Yeah.
Point out, is this what you're doing? And he just burst into laughter.
Yeah, like
as he was
realised.
busted.
Yeah.
He was busted, right? He was like, didn't even realise he was doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that soundboard sometimes, isn't it? It's when somebody just repeats back to you what you're doing. It's like, actually, yeah.
I love humour. I respond really well to
Yeah.
humour. So when people can connect me with me, look at me like, oh, really, Steph? Like,
That's
no,
it,
okay.
Let me know how that works out.
I respect that. I can get along with that. Do you know what I mean? I hear the message in that way better than if you were to, I don't know, have a go at me.
Yeah.
Or
Let me get on with it.
Or that sounds like it's really difficult for you right now. How does that make you feel?
I just told you.
but that sort of approach is powerful, because that gives people a safe space to feel comfortable to bring whatever they need to bring. So it's warranted in different approaches, in different situations. But I guess it's having the skills to learn to navigate what is required. So I'll offer a 30-minute free introduction.
Yeah.
What I do as a professional. And a life coach, so as a counsellor, as a life coach, how I entwine both of them, and find out a bit about the person. What is it you're looking for? Are we suited?
Yeah.
And then after that, I do an hour assessment, and in that hour assessment, basically what I do is I chuck your brain up in the air, ask you lots of questions, which allows me to step in your world with you.
Yeah.
So that after that hour assessment, that gives us a clear direction of where we're moving forward. What models we're going to be looking at. A bit of ADHD life coaching entwined with some counselling, and some goal setting, accountability.
Do you share it on like a theory level, or is it purely just like practice exercise kind of level? Both. I love that.
So for example, I might we'll be looking at the coexisting disorders. So we'll be looking at anxiety. We'll be looking at addiction, addictive behaviours, how that manifests. And what's the problems? Because what I didn't say actually is that I work with a lot of business people as well, entrepreneurs. Yeah. Right? Because guess what? Their addiction is work.
Yeah.
Workaholic, right? It's that working ridiculous hours. There's no balance between home life and work life. Yeah. And also things that are good for your spirit and good for your soul. So health and well-being stuff for yourself. Right? Yeah. Quite often we've got all these plates juggling, right? And when none of them are juggling well. So that imbalance is definitely clear in someone with ADHD. Yeah. So quite often I'll be working with a small business owner, big business owner. It's the same areas but on a different scale. So people think it's drugs, right? But it's not. It's autopilot. It's being stuck in that performance mode. Yeah. That doing. Yeah. So when we're looking at anxiety disorder, we're looking at we're looking at one of the modules, derived from DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy. So we're looking at the mindfulness module. There's also emotional regulation module. There's a stress tolerance model. There's an interpersonal effectiveness skill model. Right. So we'll be looking at I draw skills from that. Yeah. Right? Draw skills from CBT. So I might give you a thought diary. But one of the things with the opposite of what's not effective with ADHD is the homework. Right? Yeah. So I changed the word homework to assignment. Yeah. But I don't, actually, I'm working with ADHD. Guess what? There's going to be weeks when we turn up to the session and they'll be like, yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah, that was me when I had coaching. Yeah.
So sometimes what I do is if that's apparent, then we'll focus on the session around that exercise and we'll do it in a session. Yeah. It's about being adaptable. Yeah. Isn't it?
Exactly.
And like when we're looking at mindfulness, for example, we're looking at like anxiety. Because anxieties, there's been a massive increase on people coming out and saying, look, I'm anxious. I've got a lot going on for me, like, anxiety's there, and one of the things I do with that, because it's a coexisting disorder with ADHD, is that we look at mindfulness practices. Yeah. What we understand what anxiety is and how that's showing up and what the triggers are, and help clients to understand that actually anxiety is related to it's always related to things that we're thinking of in the future.
Yeah,
Whether that's 2 seconds, two milliseconds, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's trying to slow that ADHD brain
Yeah.
down when it comes to anxiety. Breathing practices, you know, if we look at the 5 senses, for example, you know, the stuff that I look at with the mindfulness module is more towards the ADHD brain.
Yeah.
Because if you think, you know, our senses are heightened to another level.
Yeah.
So why can't we utilise that in a positive light? So for example, we look at the 5 senses.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't realise that we can use the 5 senses as a practice of mindfulness, because what that does is then 5 senses brings us back to the
Totally.
Yeah.
right
The
here,
human.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be some like hippie woman in a field,
No.
like channeling some like, spiritual thing.
Exactly.
Or you can, like, if you want to.
By all means.
Yeah.
But it's about that connecting with the self, be able to.
Yeah.
It's self-soothing, right? To be able to take those several breaths. Like the modality I mostly subscribe to, I'd say, is compassion-focused therapy. I don't know if you've heard much of it, but again, it incorporates evidence-based practice and mindfulness. A lot of like. Buddhist type, religious type practices, because it understands that CBT is great, right, in changing thought patterns and then being able to change your actions from that. But if you have struggled your whole life being told that you are this, you're that, you're negative, you've got this negative self-esteem about yourself,
That's right.
then it's very hard to go away and just change that thought. Like, okay, well, I did this thing, I did the homework, I spoke to this person, I wasn't as anxious after, but it still doesn't seem to make that, like, the neuro pathway connect, right? It still doesn't happen. So using that element of compassion and mindfulness, I think, is amazing for being able to get that self-soothing, whether it's because you've got too much of a drive or you're too anxious, just to get out of those two spheres and just go into the soothing part and heal. I love it so much. Yeah. So that's my problem with CBT, but it sounds like you're putting things with it,
taking a
just
bit
like
of everything.
CFT would. Do you know what I mean? With the mindfulness, I think it's great. It's so...
Weirdly though, when I started this platform, the A Different Human Design platform, obviously it was around ADHD. The first 2 guides that I did was anxiety and the basic 5 senses, because I understood that if you can understand those things, you're on the pathway to being able to kind of manage yourself a lot better. You know, I think the 5 senses is such a good place for anybody to start, because I've got sensitivities with hearing. So if something's bothering me through my hearing, I can be really, like, you know, upset or quick to get angry. And some of my friends are very much around smells. So the minute you realise that, you've worked out one of your triggers. You know, you can just cope a little bit better.
Those books are available on our website, by the way.
They're free.
That's the key. You know, what you was both saying there is really important. Is the fact that, so CBT, some of the tools that I use, I elicit from the DBT approach, the model. Not all of them are effective.
Yeah.
Right? But some of them are. When I'm talking about the homework, you know, when I'm talking about, if you're working with someone with CBT, it's about bridging the last session with the next one.
Right.
You know, checking in, what's that look like? You know, continuing that work. You know, because you know, with myself, what I've found is that first I needed to become aware of who I am, what I struggle with.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we go into this mindset of autopilot, performance mode. I'm not talking about just work, just life. We don't stop, you know, and take a breath and just like, you know, like, hold on a minute, like, how are you feeling? Like, what's going on for you, right? It's a lot of it through that autopilot, and mindfulness is about allowing that autopilot to reduce, to be aware of, observe what am I thinking.
Yeah.
Observe what am I feeling right now. That unconscious becoming more conscious. So awareness is really important, isn't it? Because, you know, how can you, like you say, change the neural pathways, right? So, and I love a good acronym, right? So
Give it to me.
when a client comes to me, I try and understand the tune that's being played. It's like a cassette player.
Yeah.
A cassette going in a player. For those younger generation, it's a little square thing about that big. It goes into a hole and you press play, right? And so what happens at the start of the journey, and can still happen at different parts of that journey, is we press play and it plays the same old negative, unhelpful crap that's been recorded on that tape for many, many years.
Yeah.
But do you know, like a tape, you can press record. and I'll help you press record. But in that process of pressing record, what we're going to do is we're going to learn some different skills, right? Until eventually that tape's going to play a different tune.
Yeah, nice.
Right?
You've got a more healthy tape. Better songs.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But, you know, that can still be there, the old dialogue, right? But actually I'm in a position where I can catch it.
Yes.
Hold on a minute. That limiting belief.
Press stop record. You're not having this bit.
Yeah.
It's like the adverts when you were younger. My mum used to tell me. I didn't do it.
I did them.
Yeah, it's that awareness, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, are you you know, going to be in a position to change the neural pathways, or, you know, that unhelpful habitual behaviour, or that unhelpful negative response or reaction to what's going on around you.
So how do you do that within the hierarchy? Because when we react, right? We're really quick to react. I know I'm not very angry, but put me in traffic, put me in a situation in my car, and I am yelling at people around me. I am losing my crap. If I feel like someone is misunderstanding me, and I've tried 3 or 4 times to get through to them, and it's someone personally, not a client, don't worry. I won't shout at you. And I can lose my crap. How do I, in those moments, catch myself?
Well, you know, a lot of people, they ask you to practice in their moments, don't they? So for me, it's about, like, provide that time during the day where, you know, visually, imagine being in that situation before you're in it. Identify the thoughts, identify the feelings. Learn to regulate what's going on for you right now, because you're not in the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So that builds up resilience.
Kind of like training, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about learning to catch it earlier and earlier each time.
Yeah, it's just that, like, just, you know, that STOP acronym.
Yeah.
Yeah, STOP. Yeah, S for stop, T for take a breath, O, observe the situation, and P, proceed. There's another one with precaution.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Why is it like this? The haters should be loved, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of haters should be loved, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.